Hi everyone, welcome to the SYA Google Hangout tonight. I'm Kate Martell, I'm the Admissions Marketing Manager here at SYA. And tonight I have with me Carly. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everybody, my name is Carly Thurlow. I'm the Assistant Marketing Manager here at SYA Home Office.
And most importantly, tonight we have some special guests. It's actually first thing in the morning for them. So we have our RD at SYA China and two of our current students. So Hilde, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Kate and Carly, for having us and for hosting this event. My name is Hilde Becker. I'm the Resident Director of SYA China, and I'm having here two of our students with me. Gisela, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Gisela Levy. I go to Civil Friends in DC, and I'm a junior now.
Yeah. I'm Tahrieq. Tahrieq Koontz. I go to the Melbourne School in New York, and I'm also a junior.
Great. Thanks, guys. Thank you for joining us before your classes even start over there. So we're going to talk a little bit about SYA. We're going to ask our current students and Hilde some FAQs, and then we'll open it up to questions from the audience. So if you have questions that we don't address, something on your mind, put it in the chat box on the side, and we will do our best to get to all of those at the end. So for those of you who are just joining us and just learning about SYA, I'll tell you just a little bit about SYA. We're a high school study abroad and homestay program with 4 schools in China, France, Italy, and Spain. Every year, about 60 students attend our schools from all over the US. This year, we have students from about 140 different high schools. Our schools focus on academically rigorous curriculum with intensive language learning. Students live with a host family, they participate in extracurriculars, and they do educational travel throughout each of their countries. So as I said before, juniors or seniors, you're invited to apply for your junior or senior year. Students for the France and Spain program must have completed 2 years of French or Spanish, but our China and Italy programs welcome students who have studied Italian or Chinese before, or those who would like to start the study of those languages with us. So Hilde, do you want to talk a little bit more about SYA, a little bit about the experience and the type of students that go on SYA?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do so. You should know that we are hosted by a Chinese high school, and it's called Middle School number 2, which is downtown Beijing. So the location couldn't be better. It takes about maybe about half an hour from school to bike, for example, to the Forbidden City, which is at the heart of Beijing, operating out of a high school campus, of course, means that throughout the day students have many opportunities to interact with the local high school students. Across the street is also Beijing Normal University, and it's Beijing Normal University that operates our high school. So there are lots of opportunities to meet people. What we're trying to do here is of course providing a framework, and to this end, this year we're about to launch a language exchange programs that will pair our students with students from Beijing Normal University. If you ask me how to characterize SYA, I think our most defining characteristic is perhaps our language program, which is excellent. Typically, students will take about 11 hours per week of language instruction. You can assume that in these 9 months that you're with us, that you will learn the equivalent of 4 to 5 years of language instruction back in the United States. And I believe that the magical formula really comes into play, not just because of our very good language instruction. We have lots of experience. We are already here in place for 21 years. But another important part of the equation is really that students live with a Chinese host family. So throughout the day at school, and then when you leave school and either explore the city or go home to your host family. So you have numerous opportunities throughout the day to practice your Chinese.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's exciting about the language exchange program. I can't wait to hear more about that when it's launched. So if you wouldn't mind, Gisela and Tahrieq, if you could introduce yourselves again, and if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about why you decided to apply to SYA.
Okay, I'm Gisela. I'm a junior, no longer at Sidwell Friends School in DC, but from there. And I applied to SYA because of my school, I guess, of Sidwell. We have a partnership with SYA. We're friends schools, I guess, or member schools, I think is the term. And since 8th grade, I've been hearing about the program. In 8th grade, I had a school trip to China, and I actually toured the campus, which was a little bit wild when I got here, to already kind of know the space. And it's been kind of accepted, I guess. Since 9th grade, I've just kind of been waiting till sophomore year to apply. I wanted to be here to learn Chinese. I know that this is the best place for me to do it. I don't think there's a better place on earth to learn Chinese than Beijing. And I was very excited about the host family situation, the independence of it all. I felt pretty independent at home in America, and I wanted to kind of test that, see if I could live by myself. But I'm not really by myself. I have a family here. But yeah, that's pretty much why I wanted to be here.
Great.
I'm Tahrieq. I'm from the Millbrook School in New York. I decided to apply to SYA because I felt that my Mandarin at my home school wasn't where I wanted to be. And the only way for me to push my language instruction further and push my boundaries as a foreign language learner was to actually immerse myself in the culture of that country. And they say that the only way to become actually proficient in the language is to immerse yourself in the country and the culture. And so SYA China was a perfect fit for me. And I also I enjoyed traveling. So this is my first time out of the country, and I decided to go to China for a year. So, I felt China was the perfect place for me. Because one, it had the language instruction. I've never been to China. And it was I feel like the culture of the United States and the culture of China are polar opposites. So it was definitely nice to see, wanted to see the other side of the world.
Great.
May I jump in here for a second? I think that the students who are attracted to SYA China, generally speaking, quite adventurous because it's challenging. It's not so easy. You're traveling. You travel thousands of miles. You leave your family, your school, your friends, anything that is familiar to you, and you're willing to embrace the unfamiliar. You're willing to embrace a new culture. And you do that while you're living with the Chinese host family. So that takes a little bit of courage. And I think that our students, I would characterize them as young people who are willing to take positive risks, people who are willing to embrace new things, try out new things, and be open-minded. And I think as a result of after these 9 months, that the students will gain a tremendous amount of worldliness, in addition to, of course, mastering the language and learning a great deal about Chinese culture, politics, history, economics, and so forth. But they also gain independence and incredible increase in self-confidence, and so on. This is quite rewarding for us sort of to watch and be part of.
Absolutely. It does take guts to go to China, especially if that's the first place that you've ever traveled to on your own. So kudos to you guys. So I hope those risks are paying off. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about what your favorite part of studying abroad is so far? And I know you're only a couple months in, so there's still more to come.
Okay. My favorite part of studying abroad in China is probably being able to explore Beijing and find all the nooks and crannies of Beijing and interact with the local people. People are often surprised when I walk up to them, ask for directions in Chinese. And it's nice to see that, like, the shock on their face to see a foreigner who can speak okay Chinese, to find out and get around and find a nook and cranny, temple somewhere, something of the sort. So that would probably be my favorite part about studying in China so far, and being actually using the stuff I learned in the classroom and applying it outside with local people that I talk to and finding nooks and crannies of Beijing.
Not to mention wearing a Chinese high school uniform.
Yeah. My favorite part about studying here, I don't know if I'm going to explain this right, but I like that we still have a high school setting. It's not like we're just in China traveling alone for a whole year. And so because you're living with a family I mean, it's very different than my own family, but, you know, I'm in a house, I have a mother and father and sibling. That's similar, and I have homework, and I have tests, and I come to school every morning. And I think that having that, to be able to compare that with my life back home, to have some common pieces, makes it so much clearer to see the differences between America and the US. And I think that that's what's special about SYA China. There's no other place where I could get this kind of experience. I think it would be very different if it was in college. I wouldn't have the same kind of routine. It's not the same as moving here alone. And I like having that framework so that I can grow in a way that I can still translate it back to my life in the United States. If it was a whole different experience, I'm not sure how I'd be able to take what I've learned and apply it back at Sidwell or back in my life in the future. So I like that.
Yeah, you actually explained that really beautifully. And that's a good segue. I wanted to ask Hilde, do you want to talk just for a quick minute about, which Gisela just kind of touched on, was the support system. She made a good point that you're not just traveling in a country by yourself, kind of left to your own devices. Do you want to talk a little bit about what SYA is like in terms of support?
Yeah, so yes, we are a school, it's school year abroad, and so the students, we have very caring faculty, faculty who has taught here at SYA already for many years, so in addition to that, I think the most important support system that students have access to is, of course, the host family, and there is simply no better way to break down cultural barriers than living with the Chinese host family, because what the students learn in class, when they learn about Chinese history, for example, they can go, if they learn, for example, about Chinese economic reforms that started in 1978, they can go back home and have a conversation with their host family about that.
Right. And I even remember a couple of years ago hearing from an alum who said, yeah, I had a cold. It was the first cold I got abroad, and my host mother made me tea and took care of me, and it was just kind of like filling in that role and making sure that I was okay. And it was like, okay, yeah, no, this is like my second mom. Like, they've got my back. So talking about your host family, do you guys want to talk a little bit about what your host family's like? Talk about how you get to school, what you do on the weekends with them, and if it's similar or different from your life at home?
Yeah, it's all different. It's all very different. I live with, I have a mother, a father, and a little sister, and I'm usually the little sister back home, so it's weird. I get a little bit of a taste of what it's like to be an older sister. We lived in an apartment building. Everyone lives in an apartment building. I take the bus to school. It's very, very convenient. I'm sure we'll touch on the transportation system, but it rocks. It's the best. It takes me like between 30 to 45 minutes. I'm one of the farther out students, that's why. But it's good. I like it. I've gotten used to it. I've been here 2.5 months. And my family dynamic is, I don't even know where to start. I don't know how they let a stranger into their house, but they do it, and they do it with a smile. And they serve me food all the time, and it's delicious. My little sister is the most talented 11-year-old I've ever met. I don't think she has anything she can't do. She's incredible. She helps me with my Chinese homework, and I help her with her English homework. It's very nice. And yeah, I think that my host family, this is the second year they're hosting, and they're still, we have this thing called WeChat. It's like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram all in one. I don't know. It's how they communicate. And so they're still chatting. The student from last year, she talks to them, you know, like once every 2 weeks maybe. They're still in strong contact, and I know I'm going to be the same. So I really love my host family.
Gisela kind of touched on all the things I was going to talk about. But the host family is by far like the bread and butter of SYA. It's where you have the best experiences, I feel. I can go home to my host family and have a family dinner, and where everyone, it's different from the United States, where everyone has their own plate of food. Whereas in China, everyone has this food in the middle of the table, and everyone sort of takes food that they want. And often my host mother will say, 多吃菜, which means eat more food, or eat more food.
All
the time, and she'll put more food in my plate. But I feel like the host family is sort of bread and butter. And then I also get to school by riding a bike. I'm one of the students who ride a bike every morning, brave the Beijing winter on my bike. It's about a 10-minute bike ride. I'm not too far from school. And on the weekends, my host family will either go see a movie. So far I've seen 3 movies with them. We might go up to northern Beijing to see my host mother's family who lives in Yanqing County, which is in northern Beijing. Or we might go see my grandparents, my dad's side of the family who lives sort of out in the suburbs of Beijing. So there's different things we can do, or we could go to a park. One time they took me to a park and we just walked around the park. So there's different things that my host family does on the weekend. It's never sort of like a set schedule. They're always very spontaneous when they want to take me out.
Yeah.
They're just like, wake up in the morning, we're going to go out. And we go out.
Yeah.
So, I was going to just say quickly, Tahrieq, how was biking in the snow this morning? Hilde said they had snow today. How was your commute?
It was definitely a little treacherous, but I made it. Really slow, take it really slow, and that's the goal. I made it.
Okay, good. And that's rare, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Were you going to say something else?
yeah, I just on the weekend, I think you touched on the host family thing, but don't forget that there's like 45 to 60, I don't know how many people will be here next year, other friends that you'll have made. And so my friends and I have our like favorite spots to go to every weekend. We make new plans. There's a bunch of teachers that help you like figure out where it is that you want to go, give you recommendations of cool new places. And sometimes other host families, like I was at my best friend's house, and like Tahrieq said, people are very spontaneous here. So they were like, yeah, we're going to do you want to go to the park with us? And I thought they meant like down the street. And then I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll be back for dinner at my own house. And then we drove like an hour and a half to the most beautiful park, like almost outside of Beijing. And I was just hanging out with her grandmother. It was great. We're like friends now. So yeah, it's good. Weekends are fun times.
As Gisela and Tahrieq already mentioned, right, the host family is of course a crucial part of the entire experience, because you really get a chance on a very intimate and personal level to interact with locals. And there's more than just interacting with locals. Okay, I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. We've typically about, I would say, 50% of our students return in the following years after they graduate from SYA China. And then the first thing that they do when they hit the ground in Beijing is to call up their ba and ma. And so the host families really can be an incredible resource also for the students. We're talking here about lifelong relationships that can evolve. It also is a great way for families to meet, and I'm referring here to US and Chinese families that otherwise wouldn't have a chance to get to know us. For example, in December, when we organize a parent reception, just before the winter break, and typically we have quite a few U.S. families that will visit us here in Beijing, and then of course they will have a chance to get to know the family that is hosting their children, and that's just a wonderful moment.
That's so exciting. Send me pictures, please. Really quickly, I just want to interject for those of you who have joined us who are watching. If you have questions that you would like our SYA China students or resident director to answer, please put them in the chat box on the side, and we'll get to those after we chat with our SYA China peeps a little bit more. So let's talk for a minute about, we talked about school, we talked about host families. What about in your spare time, when you're not doing homework or out on some adventure with your host families? Do you have extracurriculars that you participate in?
Start. I participate in a lot of extracurriculars here, and SYS offers a ton of extracurricular. I participate in calligraphy on Mondays. On Wednesdays, I have a music lesson. I'm doing a traditional Chinese instrument, which is the Chinese bamboo flute. And then after my music lesson on Wednesday, I go to our local Holiday Inn Deshengmen Hotel, and I teach the staff their English. And then on Thursday, I do wushu. And then Friday would be bilingual club. So SYA offers, that's only a little bit of the extracurriculars that SYA offers, but those are the ones that I do.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. Mondays is calligraphy, Tuesday is watercolor, Tuesday morning I have Tai Chi. Wednesdays we get out of school early, so there's like different activities we'll do. Like some days we'll have like movie viewings, or we'll all go out to eat together. Or it's a time to catch my homework. Do it. And Thursday mornings I've got Tai Chi again. And you can also get things started right now. We're trying to get paper cutting started on Thursdays because it's like an available free time. Fridays, I probably just hang out with the host fam. But we've got a teacher here, a faculty member, whose entire job is figuring out how to get you to where you want to go and how to get you to do what you want to do. You go up to him and you're like, I've just had this dying urge to paint murals. That's what I would like to do. And he'll find somewhere for you to do it. It's magical. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities, and there's clubs too. We've got Ultimate Frisbee Club and Soccer Club and Ping Pong Club and Acapella Club and Yearbook Club and everything. Yeah, there's a lot of clubs. Yeah. That's
great. I can't believe you guys are doing so many things. It makes me feel like a slacker. But also, I just want to note that for anyone watching, if you go on our YouTube channel, which is School Year Abroad, we have a video from our extracurricular coordinator in China who goes through a list just like that of a sample of some of the things that are available in China. And I think you guys covered a lot of them. There might be a couple more. So Hilde, I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about one of the unique aspects of SYA China that is called Winterim, Winterim travel. And I apologize if there's going to be any spoiler alerts for you guys about the upcoming itinerary. But Hilde, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what that is and what it means and kind of what happens on that trip.
Our legendary Winterim trip to Han province in southwestern China. Travel is another important part of our program because we want to complicate the notion of China. I think we have the tendency to talk about the Chinese, or we say China. And oftentimes, we don't realize that China is a highly diverse place in terms of ethnic group. There are 55 or 56 ethnic groups in China, but it also has much geographic diversity. And so we're living here in Beijing, but in the same way that New York is in the United States, Beijing is in China. So travel travel is an important element, an important tool for us, sort of, to explore the country and to explore the rich cultural diversity in China. We typically go to rural places that are not so easy to reach. And for example, we will hike in Yunnan from village to village. And that, of course, also means that we will stay with local villages. And that is, of course, I think a precious opportunity, because what American high school student gets to experience rural life in China, in a province that is thousands of miles away from Beijing. So that's a great opportunity, and I'm very much looking forward to hitting the road again in February. Winterim takes place after the Spring Festival, which is the most important festival in China, and we will stay there for about 2 weeks. It's also a way for us to engage with Chinese culture, not with a capital C, but with a small c. And we, of course, also try to tie the travels with our curriculum. And we do that by giving students assignments throughout the trip that typically requires students to interview local people they will encounter on the road. It's about exploring the stories of the people that they will encounter, and it's about getting a better understanding of, well, what does your life look like? What are some of the challenges that you are facing, and so forth.
Great. And I could tell by your faces that you guys didn't know exactly what Winterim was about, so that's very cool. You get a sneak peek, so that's your bonus for hanging out with us this morning. Thank you so much again. Thank you, Hilde. So talking about travel, what travel have you already done, or what's the coolest place in Beijing that you visited so far?
Well, the SYA, we just got back last week before, from Shanxi. It's a province, and we went there. It was north and cold, and we took the train there. And we went to different places, Pingyao and Taiyuan, and the first place was Datong. And it was amazing. It was like a good preparation for this Yunnan trip. It was 1 week long, and we visited local high school, spent the day there, and it was incredible. I've never taken that many selfies before. And I got to talk to a lot of different people, and Pingyao is this like historic city with an inner wall situation. We stayed in like a beautiful courtyard hotel. It was like living in a dynasty situation. It was great. Just the trip was definitely amazing. And I haven't traveled with my host family yet. A lot of people have, but they're from Xi'an, so maybe at some point I'll go with them. They seem to travel back and forth quite often, so I have some free time to do that.
Great.
Yeah, the Shanxi trip was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was nice to see sort of the differences between Shanxi and Beijing. As Ms. Becker told us before, we left Shanxi as one of the more poorer provinces. So it was interesting to see the contrast between Beijing, which is it's a modernizing city, whereas the cities we visited in Shanxi were pretty, either they were coming up in the modernization or just still pretty ancient. So it was nice to see that contrast, and sort of opened my eyes to see that different places in China are different. It was like that. It was like the eye opener in that situation. And I think the coolest place to visit in Beijing is probably, I don't know if you guys know this, but the park behind Tiananmen. It's I forgot the name of the park, but it's on a hill, and there's a temple.
I think it's Jingshan.
Jingshan. it's on the top of a hill, and you can look out at the whole city. And it's nice to go at nighttime, and you can see Tiananmen all lit up, and you can look around. Basically, you have a 360 view of Beijing from the heart of the city. And I feel like that was the coolest place in Beijing for me so far.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. So jealous. Okay, so my last big question, if you had a piece of advice for someone who is sitting on the other side of the screen, and I know, Tahrieq, you were sitting on the other side of this Google Hangout watching students last year. So now that you're on the other side, do you have a piece of advice for someone who's considering SYA?
Oh, man. I say go for it. Go for SYA. SYA is a once-in-a-lifetime experience that not many people can say they've done. I feel as like my life is changing already. One, not just for the language instruction. Of course, you're in the country, you're going to be speaking the language, but you're going to sort of find yourself while you're in the country. I feel as though being high school students, when you're in high school, you're sort of looking for who you are as a person, and I feel like studying abroad is what brings you the real you out very quickly. You're going to sort of have a different view and outlook on the world. Because not many high schoolers can say they've traveled abroad and stayed with a host family and have all these deep connections. So I say apply to SYA because you'll never have this experience again. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that, like I said before, no one can ever say. Not many people can say they ever done before. So I say go for it, apply. Confident.
Yeah. Okay, and adding to that, I think oftentimes you do like summer camp or you go to school and people are like, these are the friends you'll have for the rest of your life. And I was like, cliche. It's not a cliche here. We have a teacher here who's an alum. He was here 8 years ago. He's teaching history now, which is awesome. And I was in the office the other day, and this student from his year came. He was traveling. He has some businessy job now. And they were catching up on who married who and who's friends with who and who's living in what state with who. And everybody knows each other. The other day, my friends and I were craving pie. It's Thanksgiving. Don't blame us. We wanted pie. And we found out there's one pie place in Beijing, and it's run by an SYA student. Like, this is the kind of thing.
No way. What?
And then I made a fool out of myself. I went up there, and I didn't know who was the SYA student. And sometimes I lack a little bit of a tact, like a smidgen. And I went up to the woman that was there, and I knew she spoke English. And I said, are you the student from SYA? And she wasn't. But she was under the impression that I had a meeting with the person. And so she like texted him, and he came. It was very awkward because we didn't know him. But then he talked to us, and he told us fun stories about Mr. Pettis, who was his teacher. And I think we're going to be friends. Hopefully get some high discounts soon. All good things. So yeah, you should definitely come. And friend us on Facebook, and then before you come, which you will totally just chat us really fast, and we'll tell you everything that we don't have in Beijing, like nail polish removers, so you don't end up with one nail polish. And we'll just give you a heads up on what you should bring, and that's probably going to be. That was what I was most scared of when I was coming. I wasn't sure what was going to be here. I mean, honestly, they have everything. I'll get there.
So at least you know you can get pie in Beijing, and it will be good because it's run by SYA alum.
My best advice for students, for future students, is simply don't be afraid to make a fool of yourself. Just jump into the experience. Be willing to try something new, because I am 200% sure that you won't regret it. This is going to be a very, very experience for you, and I hope to be able, those of you who are watching, to be able to meet you soon.
Great. So we do have some questions from the audience that we're going to get to. If you have questions, put them in the chat box and we'll do our best. We do have a few minutes. So our first question, do you want to let us know, Carly?
Sure. So the first question is, can we see you two have a conversation?
Putting your language skills to the test. I don't know, something like, hey, how are you? You know, how's your day? Good morning, something.
Like you, me, or who's talking?
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. How?
开始说话，这个很简单。
对。你好，大黎。
你好，贾斯。
你怎么样？
今天我非常好，
非常好。
你呢？
我有点紧张啊。这个
今天
现在我们有中文考试。
中文考试。你准备好吗？
准备好，对，当然。你怎么看北京的冬天？
觉得很冷吗？
非常冷，
非常冷，
非常冷。每天我得骑自行车来学校，所以我骑自行车的时候特别冷，所以我穿很多衣服，多穿衣服，对，所以我得穿毛巾，很多上衣。
Great. Thanks. I feel like I could watch you do that all day.
I know, it's great. Okay. So
what else do we have?
What next? So what was the transition like, and was it dramatic?
Or maybe too, you could talk about like what the first couple of days were like when you first got to SYA China.
Was I awake? I don't. It was okay. So this year was a little bit strange because we had this parade thing for the 70th anniversary victory of China over Japan. It was like a big thing, giant parade. And so we got here a little bit earlier than usual, and then right off the bat, we had a closed weekend, which is when you're like not supposed to talk to people like from SYA. You're supposed to stay with everything. I mean, I didn't even know anybody from SYA yet, so there's nobody to talk to, and it was very hot, and it was like 4 a.m. my time, and my family was trying to feed me things that I wasn't used to, and that was kind of scary, but they were so nice, and I got. SYA has it down. They've got it down how you're supposed to do this. So they let you know like when you're supposed to get a phone plan, and your family already knows, like they give you a key and they tell you like I have a wonderful room and everything was comfortable, and I don't know when I got settled down, but I know that maybe like a month in, I was pretty comfortable. Although at least once a day you turn around to your friend and you're like, I can't believe I live in China. So that still happens once a day at least. And then right when you think you're getting comfortable, they pull you out and take you to Shanxi, and they like just completely mess up your routine, and then you come back and have to readjust again. So you're always on your toes, but I definitely feel, I know what I'm doing now, which is good.
That's good. Good to know what you're doing.
For me, the first couple of days were interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
So one, besides running on empty for 3 days straight because of jet lag, I was also introduced to sort of a traditional Chinese breakfast. I remember the first breakfast I had was baozi, and I had steamed bun with red bean paste, which is probably the most Chinese thing. And I had some jiaozi, which is, but the diet was definitely sort of different from American breakfast. Some were pancakes, some were eggs, some were bacon. And it was also sort of difficult. I was a little rusty over the summer. I didn't really practice until about a month before I came to China. So my Chinese was a little rusty speaking wise. So, and the first couple of days, the only thing I could understand was, are you hungry? Are you tired? Do you want to take a shower? And everything else, I just sort of said Dui. I know a lot of us have that tendency when we don't understand Chinese people are either go-to phrases how or Dui, even if they ask a question. So that was probably the first couple of days, and then about a month in, as Gisela said, is when I really started to get really comfortable with my family. And I think it was the time when we had I was able to have my first big conversation that lasted over dinner and past dinner. I forgot about what exactly it was. Oh, it was about my house in New York City and like how it compared to their house and sort of the food. And I tried to explain to them what American pancakes were. And that was a very interesting conversation. And that was when I really felt comfortable. And you just have to be able, if you make a mistake with your host family, you just have to be able to laugh it off. They appreciate a sense of humor. If you can make a mistake and then laugh with them, laughing at you. So I feel like that was how I.
I'm amazed that you guys remember that much from the first couple of days, because when the students arrive, typically they're very much jet lagged.
Yes.
I think what happens in the first 2 weeks or so is sort of what we call the honeymoon phase, and so very quickly, however, then sort of it is challenging moving to another country and living with the Chinese host family, but it's also equally rewarding. Very quickly, students will be able to sort of step their comfort zones and get adjusted, and that normally happens after a month or two. And by then, students are not just only comfortable with their host family, really sort of have a very good bond with their partner, but they will also are able after a month or so really to move freely in Beijing, to know their way around the city. And Beijing, it's a big town that it really has much to offer.
Great. Thanks, guys. What other questions do we have from our audience, Carly?
So Christina also wants to know, what are the classes like, and more specifically your Chinese classes?
And we'll shout out to Christina because she has been tweeting us since the summer that she has been practicing her Chinese.
Yeah.
So every day you have either 2 or 3 Chinese classes, and they're all in Chinese. So there's no English spoken in the classes at all. If you do speak English, everyone in the class will sort of give you that eye.
Turn around.
Yeah.
English. Sorry.
And you have 2. If you have the class, if your day is the 3 classes, you have 2 large classes where you have the normal size, either between 10 to 12 students, and this is where you sort of learn the vocab, you review the vocab, or you do practical applications. I remember one class we learned about the fast food places around school, such as McDonald's, Subway, and how to navigate and give person directions to McDonald's and Subway. And then you have Xiaobanko, which is a smaller class, which is more personal, where you have more individualized instruction, where it's just you, the teacher, and 3 other students, 3 or 4 other students. And that I feel is the most precious time, because it's your individual time with the teacher to ask any questions, and there's no structure to the tutorial. Usually it's the students who bring in a topic to the teacher, and then it just goes on from there, and you just have it's sort of like a conversation between 5 people in Chinese. So.
Cool. What about some of your other classes? Gisela, you want to talk about those?
Yeah. We have the day is pretty structured, so you have your Chinese classes, and then you'll either have poli-sci or AP Environmental Science. So I take Environmental Science, so this 2 weeks, but lots of people take poli-sci and have a little bit of a rivalry going. It's great. Mm-hmm. And that's both of those are really good classes. And then we have English, history, and math. And when you get here, you take a math placement test, but it's not like final or anything. You just get placed into the class. And then history, We have our teacher goes off primary sources, so we have a collection of primary sources. We read them, we analyze them, we discuss them. We partners discussions all the time. It's when the teacher doesn't read at all. And we ourselves kind of structure the discussion. English class, we read lots of different books. Our teachers are usually open to suggestions if we're really all dying to read something. We definitely, I feel like it's the same level of difficulty I would be at home, but all kind of Chinese-centric. English, less so, because we have to do it in English, cover some English basics there. And yeah, those are my classes.
May I add something about the language instruction, the Chinese language instruction in particular? Some of you might wonder, well, I'm a total beginner. Is this a good idea for me to apply? And I would like to assure you that even beginners, even if you don't know a single word in Chinese, by the end of these 9 months, you will be able to have normal conversations and become somewhat fluent in Chinese. We have in a week from now, we have our first Chinese speech festival. And the students are already very nervous, but also equally excited about it. And it's just wonderful to see, in particular, also the beginners, they're able, after just 2.5 months, to deliver a 3-minute speech entirely given in Chinese in front of the entire school community. And so that is something that I look forward to each year. Also, if you're a true beginner, I mean, your pronunciation is just going to be perfect. Simply because you learn everything from scratch, and I think beginners are the ones who perhaps have the most sense of accomplishment by the end of the year, and have maybe the fastest progress throughout these 9 months.
Great. Thank you, Hilda. And you actually answered another one of Christina's questions. We had a question about keeping in touch with students back home. I know a couple people were kind of asking about keeping in touch with your family and keeping in touch with some of your friends back home and how you kind of communicate with them. Given the time difference, I know it's about 8 o'clock here on the East Coast and it's about almost 9 a.m. for you guys.
Yeah, I got my friends to download WeChat before I left because it's the I don't understand why we don't use it. It's the best app. I can video call them like free and it's a way better quality than FaceTime. It's awesome. So I can chat them all the time, and that's good because if you're chatting someone, time difference doesn't get too much of a way. You can scan it. My family, I think I'm theoretically writing to them every week, but that doesn't really happen. But I feel pretty in touch with the people back home, but not too much. I like kind of staying rooted here. I feel like if I'm Skyping everybody every night, then that's not so good. But maybe I'll Skype like one friend once a month. I've Skyped. Sometimes there's a niche like at 11 p.m. if I stay up that late where like my friends have a free period at school, so sometimes we do it like everybody's on one side to me. I'm exhausted, but I'm happy to talk to them. It's not that hard. I was surprised.
Yeah, I have to agree. I also got my family to download WeChat, and that's how our main source of communication. WeChat is an awesome app. I don't know. I don't understand why we don't use it these days. I remember when we had sort of cultural intelligence presentation by Mr. Vissers, who came to SYA to sort of introduce us to something called cultural intelligence. And one of the things that really stuck with me from that presentation was sort of disconnect yourself from the US. And sort of, because if you always are texting friends or texting your parents, you sort of have one foot in the United States and one foot in China. And so I talk to friends and family back home, but I've told them that I want to immerse myself, and they understand that I want to immerse myself. So I do communicate with them. But I feel as though while you're in China, you're often going to sort of not communication, but they're not going to be first on your mind. They're going to be, so your host families are going to be the first people you can want to text, the first people you say goodnight to. I feel like you're still going to be in contact, but they sort of don't go to the back of your mind, but they're sort of second, because you're immersing yourself in a new culture. You embrace sort of a new life. So yes, you do stay in contact.
I think it's about striking the right balance here. If a student decides really sort of to Skype each night back to the United States, maybe that is not advisable, simply because it will take up a lot of time, and it will make the transition of actually living and arriving here in China, also mentally, rather difficult. But this being said, we encourage students to be in touch with parents, with family and friends once a week. Virtually all of our host families have internet, and we at school here are absolutely wireless, with very good reception here at school. And Gisela and Tahrieq mentioned about that here in China, we all use WeChat. And millions of Chinese people use WeChat, and it's just a fantastic app. And that's sort of how we all communicate, and it makes it really easy for students really to reach out to their families back in the United States.
Great. Thanks. I'm going to go download that app now.
Yeah.
So we actually have to wrap up. So if we didn't get to your questions, Carly will share some more info in the Q&A, and you can always reach out to us at sya.admissions@sya.org. I just want to wrap up really briefly and talk about some deadlines. So our application deadlines for scholarships is Feb 1, and the general and financial aid deadline is Feb 15th. So if you haven't started your application already, go online, sya.org/apply, start your application, and check out our YouTube channel. Carly just posted a video the other day, 5 tips for starting your SYA application. So check that out and get some insider tips. Follow us on social. We're on Facebook and Twitter as SYA Admissions, and we're on YouTube and Instagram, School Year Abroad. Check those out, follow us. We get reports from our campus reporters in each of our 4 schools. We have blogs, we have videos, we have lots of photos on Instagram. And I was going to say, Tahrieq, the next time you're on top of that hill at night with the 360, if you post it on Instagram, do a hashtag or tag us, School Year Abroad or SYA China. We will find it and we will repost it. Also, I just wanted to shout out to everyone who has already applied. We're so excited, and I'm going to call out Christina again because I know you've been practicing your Chinese, so get that app in. And if you have any questions, Carly will post links below of how to get in touch with us. And I just want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, Hilde and Gisela and Tahrieq. Thank you so much for joining us, for getting to school early, for fighting the commute in the snow. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And do you guys have any Thanksgiving plans? Are you going to be able to order some pies from that SYA alum and celebrate?
School has a little surprise for the students in store.
Okay, I think I know what it is, but don't want to spoil the surprise. So thank you all so much. Thanks to everyone watching. Happy Thanksgiving. Submit your app, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too.
Thanksgiving.
Bye. Thanksgiving.
Bye.